watching NotesIn9.
Hello, and welcome to NotesIn9. I'm David Leedy. Episode 146, Going Mobile with Bootstrap. Baseball meets Bootstrap. Okay, I don't get a lot of reader email or feedback, but I always do appreciate what I get. But every now and then I get questions from people and stuff like that. And two of the most popular questions recently are these. Is there a demo showing how to build an Xpages app from start to finish? Uh, yeah, there isn't yet because I suck. But we're going to talk about that in a bit. And how do I get started really using Java with Xpages? Both of those are really good questions, and I intend to do a show, basically answering both of those, doing an app from scratch to finish, and also using Java as part of it. But in the meantime, because I haven't gotten to it yet, because see the aforementioned mentioned that I suck, somebody else has now beaten me to it, and I'm excited that that has happened. So there's a new kind of rising star in the community, I guess you might want to call it, Greg Reader, and he's on Twitter at Darth Heap, and he's from readerprogramming.com is his blog, and he did a video, and I've got the full link here, and I did a short version of it as well, on the first video of a series of what he wants to do of building an app from start to finish using Java for Xpages. So it's just really what a lot of people have been asking for. So I wanted to highlight this in his video and really send you over there. I tried to get this series on NotesIn9, but he didn't want to do it. He's a very tough negotiator, but he will come on at some point and do some highlights, so I am very excited for that to happen. So if you go over to YouTube and watch this, the very first show is really kind of a setup show, and it's really neat to see because he kind of goes through the designer and he creating some groups and stuff like that, and installing the update sites needed for the OpenNTF project on the server and into Designer and everything like that. So it's a really well done video. The video quality is probably a little lacking, which I believe he admits as well, and I'm trying to help him with that, and I'm sure we'll come up with something better for his next one. So just be aware that this video series is going on, and keep your eye on that. And when new episodes come out, I'm going to try to mention them and promote them as best as I can. So now I said, now he's doing this series, and I said I want to do this series too. So that's two people doing the same topic. Well, that can't happen, right? Well, I think that's wrong. I think the more videos on the same topic, the better off we are all on. If that made sense. And I get that question a lot also. I ask someone to do a topic and they say, oh, someone's done it already. And I say, I don't care. It's, Google has a better chance of finding two shows or two blog posts on a topic than it does have on one. So keep that in mind, please. Blog stuff that's been blogged before. There's nothing wrong with that. Things get old, things get lost. Just because someone blogged a topic before does not mean they own that topic. They blogged it for a reason, to put it out there for other people to make use of. So if you're blogging something that's very similar to something that you know of, okay, give the person credit or put a link back, but you really don't need to go to them for permission. At least I hope not, because half my NotesIn9 shows come from other bloggers. And you can give it your own take on the subject, and it's probably going to be different. And maybe someone will like your take better than the other person's, or at least now there's two perspectives on the same thing. So that's just better for the community. So don't let that stop you from sharing. Don't say to yourself, "Oh, it's been done before," because that is a fallacy. Okay, now here's the meat of the show, and we have a new contributor. I love putting this slide up, and I'm really excited in particular about this new contributor, and his name is none other than Sean P. McManus, and he's an Xpages developer from I believe the Minneapolis area, and he's on Twitter, of course, and he's got his blog here, which we're going to talk about his blog in a second, and he's already contributed to OpenNTF, which I love seeing. This project called X Group Toolbox. It sounds like some administration crap. But I'm sure it's really good. You got to pick on admins because we're developers. That's what we do. So I do recommend you check that out very much, and I'm very excited to get him on. So what he's done for today's show is he's going to use Bootstrap to make a mobile website. So he's not going to use mobile controls, which is very similar to what I'm doing in the real world. I've done a lot with mobile controls, and I'm kind of moving away from them for mobile development. There are some reasons to do it, and there's some reasons to stick with them. But it is good to see some alternatives to using the mobile controls, just so you have choices. I'm going to talk about some of my mobile stuff in a future show. But he's going to use Bootstrap. Now he's not using. It doesn't look like he's using the X Pages for Bootstrap project. He's using it manually. I think he's importing from a CDN in there, which is fine, and that works. Though I guess if you were starting today, at least if I were doing it, I would want to use the Bootstrap project that's on OpenNTF. I think there are some advantages to that. So just keep that in mind. It's certainly easier for him to get to a newer version without having to wait for that project to be updated and so forth and stuff like that. So there's pros and cons to everything. So he's going to make a mobile baseball-oriented website to like manage a little league, something like that. And what I want to do now is I want to just kind of stop this and I want to show you his website because in his demo he didn't really do too much up front, and I thought it was important to do something up front. So here's his website, and at spmcmanus.net, and I assume this is WordPress or something. I'm not really sure what it is, but it's mobilized, of course. And what if we come in here under projects? He's going to talk about this sports league mobile app demo, and this is just something you might see for any little league team, or maybe you've got a soccer or a football team or something like that. So it's just something to keep track of the teams, their schedule. There's information for contacting coaches and authorized people, where the field's at, and I believe if I clicked on this, it would even come up to Google. All right, so there's the field, contact information for other people involved in the league, Twitter account if there is one, which I don't think there is here, and just for the demo and stuff like that. So again, it's not a very detailed app. You can get to it this way. You can see some other information, etc. So again, there's not rocket science here, but it's a needed app for it solves a purpose. So let's go back to the slides here, and I'll say, with that being said, let's go to Sean and his demo.
Hello, my name is Sean McManus, and I'm here today to show you how to create a simple mobile application in X Pages using Twitter Bootstrap. Who am I? Well, first of all, I've been doing Domino and Notes work for the past 16 plus years in various capacities. I've done admin work, I've done work integrating with mainframe applications, integrating with Oracle, all kinds of Domino and Notes related and X Pages stuff over the past 16 years. I'm an occasional blogger, not very prolific. I live in Minnesota. I don't always like living here, although this time of the year it's not so bad. I'm a golfer, husband, father, and youth baseball coach. So Twitter Bootstrap as a mobile framework. We're building mobile applications because mobile applications are cool. People like them. They're convenient, and when people are out on the run, it's a great way to surface and obtain information. Twitter Bootstrap is becoming a very familiar framework. People are used to using it. They're used to the controls, and it's something that people like to see. And it's easy to use. It's easy to work with. And surfacing Domino data via X Pages is actually quite fun. I enjoy doing it, and it's a real simple thing to do once you know a few things. So today I'm going to give you a quick demo, and today's demo is going to be on a youth baseball league scheduling app that I created. I'm currently the second grade coordinator for my local youth baseball league, and I put together this application to give out to the parents and coaches so they would have easy access to scheduling, team information, coaches information, contacts, and so forth. And it's been very well received. All the data we're seeing here today is coming from a standard version 9 Notes NSF, although I believe it would all work back to at least version 8.5.3, which most people should be using now. And I'm connecting to the Twitter Bootstrap, jQuery, and Font Awesome resources via Content Delivery Network. And I really like using Content Delivery Networks for demo applications, for small applications, things like this, when you always know you're going to have connectivity. It's a great way to get out to that latest code without having to host those resources on your server. And it really, you don't take much of a performance hit here, at least in my experience. Where to find me? You can find me at spmcmanus.net, on Twitter, email, or if you are local here, you can find me at a youth baseball field most of the summer. I'm out there watching, coaching baseball most nights of the week. So now let's get started with the demo. First of all, you need to set up your theme. So I'm opening up here in Domino Designer. Here's my app. I'm going to go down to Themes, and I'll walk you through the Bootstrap 3 theme that I set up for this application. Finally. Alright, let me minimize some windows here to get some better screen real estate. Okay, so I'm pulling in style sheet here. The style sheets for Font Awesome. Those are the icons you saw in that screenshot from my homepage. Here's the latest Bootstrap style sheet. And then I need JavaScript files for jQuery right here, and for Bootstrap itself right here. And then the last entry here, this viewport parameter, this is what creates the responsive design. So if you're using it in a web browser, it'll be wide and take up the full screen, and then if you shrink it down, it'll reduce those components to sizes that are more visible and easier to use on a mobile screen, such as an iPhone. Okay, so that's it. It's a very simple theme to put together. Once you do that, then you need to go into the XSP properties and select that theme. Make sure you take it off of server default or web standard or whatever else other themes might be on there as the default, and select the theme that you've just created. Okay, next I'm going to start with the layout. So I created a layout custom control called CC Layout, and this is going to be basically the top banner navigation that's going to be on every page of my application. And I like to look at the source pane because in this case it's a lot more difficult to see exactly what's going on, especially when you start using Bootstrap classes and so forth. It's a lot easier to work in the source than it is to work in the design pane. So we'll get started and look at the source, and I'll kind of walk you through how that's all built and put together. Alright, first of all, we have a nav tag here. That's basically what's going to classify this as a navigation header. Use the default navbar class. And first I should point out that if you go to getbootstrap.com, that's where you're going to see all of the source, all of the examples, and all of the code that goes into putting this together. So let's see here, where's the navigation? Is that under the... I always forget exactly which header that's under. Yeah, so here's navigation, tabs, pills, so forth. So I basically, when I started going through this, I just scrolled through the website and looked for different components, looked for the look I was looking for, and this particular one right down here is where I started for my application. So, you know, it was a simple thing. I just copied and pasted all the code here, and then adjusted it till I got to the exact look that I wanted. So you have a header here. Inside the nav, we've got a div that is the navbar header, and this is important here. This is what basically controls the navbar and determines whether or not you're going to be showing each of the navigation links horizontally across the screen if you've got a wide screen, or in a drop down as you have a narrow screen. So you've got this button here, button tag, and that includes these icon bars. These spans right here are what give you the horizontal lines that denote a standard menu button. And this particular span here is just specifically for screen readers. That's the class SR only. We'll hide that otherwise. And then you've got these two meta tags here that are basically what connect the header button, the navigation button, to the links that we're going to show below. So if I put down here another div, this is where I'm going to lay out my entire list of links. So I'm just putting in an unordered list, and each list item's just going to have a simple link and label here. So I've got a page for home screen, for the teams, for the schedule, a list of fields, a list of other contacts, a list to my Twitter account for the league, and these last two here were just links that I put in here from my demo application so I could describe a little bit about it and provide a link to download. So what you'll see here is this ID here corresponds to the data target up above. So the result of all this, you'll see, if we do I've got a test page here that just shows the layout. So I've got my league demo, home, this is all the links I had, and if I shrink down the screen, you'll see how it becomes responsive and then puts all those things in a menu bar here. And you'll see those three horizontal lines correspond to these span tags right here. So very simple layout, and then I'm using that layout on each and every page on my application. And we'll go ahead and I'll show you the scheduling page next. So first of all, I've set up a form. This is just a very simple standard notes form that has the particular fields on it that I'm interested in here. So I've got, week number, event date, event type. These are the four fields, the names of the four fields that I'm using. I've just labeled the locations here, location 1, 2, 3, and 4. And a status, and the status could be, I could put in there canceled if we end up having to close fields because of rain. I enter in the status of canceled, and then immediately updates it on the app. And then I have a view, standard notes view for all that data. And the interesting thing to note here is on the column properties, you need to have a programmatic name in there that you're setting, because this is what you'll use to refer to when you're actually building the HTML data that's going to display that on the application. So if it ends up that you're using a calculation here that calculates and it puts in a programmatic name of $11 or something like that, you may want to go in there and change that to be something useful so that you can refer to it later in your code. Okay, so let's open up the schedule X page, and this is really simple here. You're not going to believe how few lines of code are actually showing up on this page. So first of all, I have my layout custom control right there. This information at the top is just header information that allows the application on a mobile device to display a certain icon and allows you to actually create that application and save it off to your home page. And then I'm just pulling in a custom JavaScript library that I'm using that has just a few tags in it, a few functions in it that I'm using to make things a little bit simpler here. So the heart of the matter right here is this stuff right here. So this is just simply a header where I'm putting a title on the page. And then we have a div, panel body, and inside that a repeat control. So the repeat control is bound to the view that I've just showed you up here. And then I've set a variable parameter equal to row, and rows equal to 300. So this is the default number of rows you want to display in your view at one time. So for my purposes, I set it to 300. That's going to be more than enough to display all of the scheduling entries that I have for my season. If you wanted to keep that number lower and then add in paging controls, you could do that, or set it extremely high so that you're never going to have to page. That's kind of up to you. And then essentially inside that repeat control, all I'm doing is throwing in a computed text field, and that computed text field is just simply going out and calling a server-side JavaScript function that I've built called build schedule table. And what that'll do is that you'll run that function, and it will return HTML data, and that HTML data will be for each row in that view. So for each entry in that view, it'll go out there and it'll execute this code and return some HTML data that it'll put it out to the page. So the key thing to remember on that is, and I like to show this by going to the Design tab, is on that computed field in the properties, where's that one again? Right here. Content type, you want to set that equal to HTML. By default, it's text. And if you do it as text, you're going to get returned back all the HTML code you created and not actually the rendering of that. So you want to make sure you set that content type to HTML. Okay, so let's look at the code that's actually doing all the heavy lifting. So I've got a build schedule table code function here. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just creating a variable that I call thtml for temp HTML, and I'm going through and I'm just building the HTML code that I want for each entry. So the way I'm structuring mine is for each day I'm putting in a block of code that'll indicate the day, it'll indicate each of the fields and which teams are at that field for that day. So I'm starting off with a simple div, class equals panel, panel primary, and these classes right here, these are referred to specific classes in Bootstrap. And if you'd like, you can actually look at the Bootstrap source code and find out exactly what the CSS and the JavaScript, that is interacting with those particular classes. But the good thing is you don't have to do that. All you need to do is look at the examples on the Get Bootstrap website, and you can see what a panel looks like, and put that together yourself. And you don't really need to concern yourself with all the details behind the scenes if you don't want to. So, and then inside that div, I'm just building a table. So I've got a table, I've got a body tag, inserted in a row, putting in a header, and in that header, this is interesting, I'm using that row variable, and I'm get column value. Get column value refers to the view, and then event date. And again, event date right here, this corresponds to right here, the programmatic name for the column in that view. So, and then I'm closing out the header portion, and then we're getting down into the row for the actual content of that panel. So here I'm doing a check on the status. So if this is a status of canceled, then I'm going to put in a special badge here, the label danger badge. And so if you go look at Bootstrap here, let's see which one's Bootstrap, and find out which one that is. I can show you what that looks like. Right here. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just putting a little call out there that says, all right, this is going to say canceled in there, and it's going to be a little red badge on there. So when they open it up, it's going to alert them that, oh, okay, this practice has been canceled, and the red's going to make it stand out a little bit more. And then I'm using different colors here for the games versus the practices. So if I go back to Bootstrap here, I think I've got the games in gray and the practices in orange, yellow. So then the rest of this is just very simple HTML. Okay, adding a bold tag to the field names, using that row.get column value to grab the information from location 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then closing out all those tags and returning the HTML variable. Very, very simple. And you probably would run into problems with this sort of technique if you had, huge amounts of data. There may be some limitations on the size, but for the purposes here of this simple application, and for a lot of purposes that you might have both personal and in the business world, this is going to work just fine. So let's do a quick demo of the schedule page here, and I'll show you what that looks like. So here I'm using the league. Here's my emulator running through Google Chrome. Here's the home page, and I'll show you how I did the home page later. But let's go look at the schedule. So here you'll see you've got the nice section here for each, nice panel for each day. Has the date and time there, and this is the status basically of that particular day. So on Monday, April 28th, we had horrible weather. It's canceled. These are the teams that were set to practice at that field, and because of the weather that was canceled. So if we keep scrolling down, we're going to see each individual day. Practices on the 29th, practices on the 30th, and then if we get further down, here's where the games start. And you just scroll all the way down. Very, 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 very simple. You could build into this something like this, a mechanism for canceling out or restricting, filtering out old games. So once you get to June, you're going to be hiding all of the previous dates, so that when they open it up, they're just seeing the current stuff. So that would be really easy to build into it as well. So now I'm going to show you quickly the teams page, and that was really done using the exact same technique here. So if you look at the teams page, it almost looks identical. Here's my H1 header, and here's the div that has the repeat control in it. It's done exactly the same way. I just have a different function here that I'm using to build the HTML. So if I look at that function, there's a couple interesting things to point out here. So since this is HTML, and since this is going to be used on mobile phones, what I did is I have a page where I list every team and the coaches for that team and the contact information for those coaches. So if coach needs to contact another coach for another team that they're playing that night and coordinate something, they can easily get to that information. But the interesting thing to point out here is I've used these prefixes here on the links. And what that does here is the tel: prefix will put on, when used on a mobile phone, will actually try to call that number when you tap on it. And you're probably very familiar with the mail to. That's just using the email address, so that'll compose a new email. So that's very, very helpful. And the rest of this stuff is built the exact same way using the same Bootstrap classes. And I'll show you what that looks like. So, and these are fake names here, so you don't need to worry about me disclosing confidential contact information. And this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work here in my emulator. But if you were to tap on this on your mobile phone, it would call that number. Likewise, if you were to tap on the email address, it would open up a new email and compose to that recipient. So, very nice. So next I'm going to show you how I put together the fields and contacts pages. And those I did a little bit differently. Essentially, I had information in there that wasn't going to change at all throughout the year. So rather than linking that information to backend Domino Notes data, which I could have done, I decided just to hard code it in there. So that is just simply done using HTML directly in the source tag, so in the source pane. So I built the table. Here again, I'm using the same Bootstrap classes, but instead of calling a function to return that, I'm just simply inputting it directly. And I looked up Google Map information for the particular field, so I can put the links directly on there, and they can tap on that, and it'll open the map directly for them. So very simple, just some panels and tables in there, very easy to use, and the context was done the exact same way. So just a div, panel, table, and then very straightforward HTML to put that information in there. So I'll show you what that looks like. So here's the fields, the address, and the direct link. Which pulls that up on in the mapping application. Very easy. And then the league contact information has links to the director and the coordinator for our league. So very simple. Finally, I'll show you the home page here. So the home page is very nice, just very simple. A couple icons there linking to each of the pages. And for those, I actually used Font Awesome icons. So if you haven't seen Font Awesome before, it's fantastic. It's just a collection of iconography that you can use. And the great thing about Font Awesome is all the icons on there are scalable. So you've got just a really large list of icons, and depending on how you code the tags, you can have them be small or large, or within reason, a real variety of sizes and colors, and you can do quite a bit of things with that. So I'll show you how I built together that page. So again, this isn't pulling information from anything, any back-end source. I'm just building HTML right in the source pane here. A table with rows and is really simple. And the key bit right here is for each link to the page, I'm using this I tag here. The I tag corresponds to the Font Awesome, and these classes here will show me exactly which icon I'm using. So this is Font Awesome. I'm using the Font Awesome flag, and I decided to scale that up by 5 times. So that's really it. And by doing that, it blew up that flag to a large enough size that it looked proper for me on a mobile device. So a link for teams, schedule, fields, contacts, and then a link to pull up the league Twitter account on the Twitter website. So again, very simple here. And we can kind of toggle through that and show you what that looks like. You've seen all these pages already. Contacts page, fields page, and Twitter. And this right here this particular link doesn't work here in the emulator, but on a mobile device it actually links out to the mobile version of the Twitter page for my Twitter handle there. So very nice. Well, thanks for watching this demo. I hope you learned something, and hope you have some information now that you can use to go out there and create your own simple mobile application using Twitter Bootstrap and sourcing back to some back-end Domino data. It's really simple, and once you get into it, it's really fun to start discovering new classes that you can use in Bootstrap and to make really nice looking, simple, elegant applications. Thanks a lot for your time, and here's my contact information if you'd like to get a hold of me later for questions or comments. Thanks.
And that's the demo. I thank Sean for coming on. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to more from him. If you have any questions for me, here's my contact information, and I thank you for your time.